Good evening.
Good evening.
I, Dr. Lasagna Flowers Ivory, Vice President of the Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees, call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of Board of Trustees is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Our mission at Duncanville ISD is to engage, equip, and empower all scholars to achieve their unique potential. We will now go into opening ceremonies. Trustee Vera Cruz will lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Please join me in a word of prayer. Lord, we honor you this evening and dedicate this meeting of minds to you. I pray that you lead our paths of decisions and discussion that glorify you. I pray for your light is always constant no matter the circumstances. I pray for leaders, educators, staff, and students that their steps are guided by your light. I speak a blessing on every presenter and guest here tonight. Thank you, Lord, that you give us clarity, courage, and sense of strength in our meeting this evening because you are always here. In his mighty name I pray, amen.
Amen. Can we please stand for the pledge? You may be seated. We will now move on to the superintendent's report. I will now turn the meeting over to Superintendent Andre Fields.
Well, good evening, everyone, to our board and our waiting audience. Again, it is my delight to bring you the superintendent's update report for this month. It's been a very busy month from March until today. And so the first thing that I want to share, that you see in our first item is on this past Saturday evening, we had a memorable event where we hosted our second annual JROTC Military Ball. And of course, the theme for the evening was On the Bayou. We thank First Sergeant Atkinson and First Class Sergeant Tucker for their work and their leadership with these young leaders. The cadets were outstanding. Our guest speaker was none other than our own, Dr. Sam Nix, and he shared 4 things with the cadets and the guests on Saturday evening, and these were the points. You become what you consume, people matter, be consistent, and keep moving. And so we were all inspired by the words that he brought to us with the at the second JROTC Military Ball. And we thank all of our cadets, our families, and of course our staff for the outstanding event on Saturday. Next slide. Duncanville ISD and Duncanville High School boys soccer competed in the state tournament this past weekend for the 4th time in program history, and the first since 1986, which was the year we won our only boys soccer state championship. Probably many of you in the room were in Georgetown on this past Friday. While we didn't have the outcome we wanted, this team has much to celebrate, and this program has so much to look forward to. Coach Passos has been the head coach of the Duncanville boys soccer program for the last 15 years. And in fact, if you remember earlier this year, board, we celebrated Coach Passos for earning his 300th career win. You don't get to 300 career wins as a head coach without having a powerhouse program. So we want to say congratulations and kudos to our team, our players, and they really made us Panther proud. And we say congratulations to the outstanding representation they did for us. They're not here tonight, but let's give them a round of applause. I was there. It was a tough game on Friday night, and the team that won, I think they'd been number one the entire season. So we were really in the thick of the championship. We're almost there. Y'all just keep. We're almost there. We're almost there. Next slide. While many of us were relaxing during spring break, our culinary students were cooking up some tasty treats for our community. The Flavor Duncanville is sponsored by the Duncanville Chamber of Commerce, and it brings together businesses and organizations for a great evening at Duncanville High School. Restaurants in the area showcase their specialty foods and flavors with tasting tables. The Duncanville High School culinary program under the leadership of Miss Rashida Johnson participated this year. And Ms. Johnson, if you're in the audience, would you please stand? If you have any of your students with you, have them to stand as well. Our culinary arts. Yes, yes. I don't know how I missed those white coats. I missed them. How did I miss them? How did I miss them? Ms. Johnson, thank you very, very much for all you do with and for our students, teaching them the importance of how flavors of foods come together and the beauty of how they are presented makes culinary an art form. Through your leadership, our students are learning a life skill and possibly a path to a lucrative career. As our mission statement states, and this was really a visible demonstration of this, that we are engaging, equipping, and empowering all of our scholars to achieve their unique potential. So we say thank you very much. We celebrate you and the culinary arts students tonight. Thank you so much. Next slide. Duncanville ISD has been designated as a Best Communities for Music Education by NAM, the National Association of School Merchants. To qualify for a Best Communities designation, our Fine Arts Department answered detailed questions about funding, graduation requirements, music class participation, instruction time, facilities, support for the music program, and community music making programs. Responses were verified by school officials and reviewed by the Music Research Institute at the University of Kansas. Now in its 25th year, the Best Communities for Music Education designation is awarded to districts that demonstrate outstanding achievement for providing music access and education to all students. We want to give a special thank you to Mr. Doucet and the team of dynamic fine arts educators for all you do. We celebrate you for, again, recognizing Duncanville ISD as Best Communities for Music Education. So thank you and congratulations to our Fine Arts Department. Next slide. Well, we're winners in all kinds of contests, right? So all across our district, our students and staff are writing success stories. While the final vote isn't in yet, I want to announce that our student media program at DHS submitted a public service announcement video as part of a Region 10 Cyber Safe video competition. Of all the schools, and I mean all the schools in Region 10, we made it to the top 10. Mr. Clifford Reed leads this program for our high school, and I must say we have some extremely creative and talented students enrolled in this particular program. Mr. Reed has taught the students to shoot, produce, recap our major sporting events, including videos that we see at our varsity football and basketball games. You also see their work shared on social media platforms, and one of the students, as a matter of fact, was with us this weekend at the JROTC Military Ball as the professional photographer. So congratulations to being in the top 10. And before I wrap up my comments about this, let's take a look at their video. This is the public service announcement.
everybody can access the internet. Everybody. You, your friends, your family, but also predators and scammers. Be careful about trusting the first thing you see on the internet. It could be your last. Double check profiles before working with them, and avoid sharing personal information or clicking mysterious links to unknown websites.
Hey, did you get the $5 I sent you? What $5? The $5 you told me to send you 5 minutes ago. Let me see. I didn't ask you for that. What? That's not me.
The next time you are surfing the web, think twice.
Yay. Thank you to Mr. Reed, and we're looking forward to being the winners in this contest as well. Before I proceed with my next comment, and we've shown this, I know we're crowded in the room, and we have guests standing, and so if our staff, this is not part of the scripted report, but if we can ask some of our staff if they will relinquish their seats, so some of our guests who are in the room could have a seat. We don't need everyone, but you'll do that for us. Thank you for doing this at the request of the board. Thank you, staff. Guest. Okay. You can fill in the seats if you, especially if you're a guest. We have a lot of staff members present tonight, so thank you. Thank you.
Okay, they can sit right there.
Yes. So if there's an open seat, you're certainly welcome to sit. We just want to make sure all of our guests had available seating. Thank you so much. That's just like Duncanville ISD. We want to say congratulations to our Duncanville ISD 2024 Campus Teachers of the Year. To recognize excellence and honor the professional, innovative and effective abilities of all teachers, counselors, and librarians in the Duncanville ISD, we participate in the Teacher of the Year competition sponsored by the Texas Education Agency. The purpose of this program is to keep the spotlight on the noble profession of educating children. Pictured on the screen are the Campus Teachers of the Year. Each elementary and intermediate selects one person. Pace and Summit each have one person representing their campus, while the middle schools have 2 educators and Duncanville High School has 4 educators representing them. On Thursday evening of this week, the Duncanville Rotary will honor these amazing educators with a dinner. The district selection for Elementary Teacher of the Year and Secondary Teacher of the Year will be announced at the Employee Appreciation Celebration on May 9th, 2024. The District Teachers of the Year will represent Duncanville ISD for the 2024-25 school year, advance to the regional and possibly state competition for Teacher of the Year. I've been a classroom teacher, and it is one of the most rewarding career experiences I've had. Campus Teachers of the Year, one of the ways we recognize an educator who gives their all and has a heart for children. We want to say congratulations to them. They're not with us tonight, I don't believe, but you'll be seeing them in the days ahead, and we look forward to celebrating them on Thursday night and at the Employee Appreciation event on May 9th. So we celebrate our Teachers of the Year.
Congratulations.
Madam Vice President, that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll have presentation by Ms. Connie Wallace.
Good evening, Vice President Dr. Ivory, the Board of Trustees, and Interim Superintendent Mrs. Fields. Here on the screen, you see that we have several donations that we have received this month, and we are forever grateful to our community for the cash and supply donations that we have received. Are there any questions about any of the donations? All right, I'll move right on ahead. Next slide, please. All right, it gives me great pleasure every month that we celebrate Made with Pride in Duncanville. Each month we honor a student, staff member, and teacher who goes above and beyond. They are chosen from nominations submitted by coworkers, classmates, or community members. These individuals reflect the excellence and pride of our district, and they are made with pride in Duncanville. At this time, I'd like to invite Miss Magnus. Will you please join me at the podium? All right, I have a certificate here for you. And I'm going to read some of what was stated in your nomination. So everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Miss Lucia Magnus. She is the Fair Meadows attendance clerk, and she was nominated for Made with Pride by her colleagues because of how she persevered through all of the overwhelming details that it takes to get a school year up and running. Thank you for that. We all know how challenging that can be. She is described as optimistic and professional. Lucia's dedication to excellence, coupled with her diligence and outstanding work ethic, they shine through. They wanted you to know that you fearlessly navigated the complexities of registration, that you ensured a smooth start to the academic year with kindness and professionalism. And despite facing a myriad of tasks, you consistently delivered exceptional results and extended a helping hand to help others. So thank you for that. They mentioned that you are professional, you are patient, you are composed under pressure, and they say that Lucia tirelessly ensures accurate attendance records. With a deep understanding of her role and a compassionate heart for people, Lucia, they say that you embody dedication and professionalism in every aspect of your work. And for this, you are made with pride in Duncanville. Congratulations. Thank you. And in a moment, we'll invite you back up to get a few more pictures. At this time, I would like to invite Miss Wilson to join me at the podium. Miss Tina Wilson, come on down. All right. You know, Miss Wilson, I always want to forget to give out the certificates. I'll just be trying to keep y'all set. Here you go. Congratulations. All right, everyone. This right here is Miss Tina Wilson, and she is a fifth grade science teacher at Daniel Intermediate School. She is a beacon of wisdom, love, and positivity for her colleagues. And your nomination says that Miss Wilson's influence extends beyond mere instruction. They want you to know that you challenge fellow new teachers to delve into the essence of their profession. You encourage them to uncover the deeper purpose behind their career choice. And with grace and insight, Miss Wilson imparts invaluable wisdom, mentoring others, fostering open communication with students, families, and cultivating meaningful partnerships with parents. Man. Amidst the whirlwind of learning and growth, she emphasizes the importance of self-compassion, reminding colleagues to grant themselves grace along the journey. Ashley Batley, you know Miss Ashley?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Miss Ashley is the teacher who nominated you, and she says that she can attest to the transformative impact of your guidance. And she also wants everybody to know that despite teaching different subjects, you advise and you give advice and you have significantly enhanced her classroom management, and that you are a testament, or she is a testament to all that you pour into others. And for this, these are reasons why you are made with pride in Duncanville. Congratulations. And Miss Wilson, you have a guest here with you tonight. Would you? Okay. And staff members from your campus, are any of your colleagues here with you? Okay. Yes. And I know that when Miss Magnus was up here, you had a little photo opportunity. Any of your staff members here to celebrate with you? Yes, wait, yeah. All right, thank you. And next, let us invite Miss Vance to the podium. Where is Miss Vance? You've ever been called Miss Vance before? A few times. A few times. All right. Well, look yonder. Okay. So this, everyone, is our student made with pride, Diana Vance, and she is a senior at Duncanville High School Collegiate Academy. A senior? Oh my goodness. Congratulations. We're going to miss you on the sidelines next year. Oh gosh. And she embodies the essence of helpfulness and always goes above and beyond to make everyone feel included, according to her peer, Alea Kirkdahl. You know Alea? Yes, she is who nominated you. And she wants you to know that you are renowned for your exceptional photography skills, and that you not only capture moments, but also foster inclusivity effortlessly. Wow. And we were mentioning Mr. Reed earlier today. You are one of his students. You are in his audio, video, and production class, and he also praises you as a phenomenal student. And I hear that you are serving as the live production producer. Okay. In the student media program, and your friends and peers, they say that Diana embraces her work with diligence and dedication and is always up for a challenge. Her impressive academic record has garnered numerous college acceptance letters from prestigious institutions such as Texas Christian University, TCU, SMU, and the University of Texas at Austin. And you've also been receiving some scholarships, I hear. Is that correct? Look at that. And for all of these reasons, Diana, you are made with pride in Duncanville. Congratulations. Will the family, friends, and peers and teachers please raise your, all right, yes, congratulations. At this time, let's take a look at the screen and hear a little bit more about our Made with Pride in Duncanville.
Congratulates the following student, staff member, and teacher who are made with pride in Duncanville.
Hi, my name is Tina Wilson, and I'm a 5th grade science social studies teacher at Daniel Intermediate. I started out being a substitute teacher, and I just got the bug of teaching. I went and got certified, and now I'm a science teacher. Favorite part of my day is to see the students' faces light up when they really get it, and to see their excitement about giving their comment on something that they know about. You have to have patience, and it's kind of hard today, you know. Students are different today. Give yourself grace and always give the students grace. Give them a chance, they might surprise you.
Hi, I'm Lucia Magnus, the PEMS clerk and attendance clerk at Fair Meadows Elementary. I help parents assist in enrolling their students and educate them on attendance and how education is very important for their child. I like to see the effect of how when I communicate and explain the information to parents, how they react to it, and then I can see the effect on the other end. My favorite part about my job is being able to see the students happy to come into school, especially when they've been out sick, because I've known they've been out, so I like to check on them to see how they're doing and keep them excited on coming back to school. I love students, I love kids, and just being able to be part of their education is something that I've always wanted to be part of.
Hi, my name is Diana Meds, and I am a 12th grader at Duncanville High School. I want to be a cinematographer, so I basically just want to visually tell stories in movies and TV shows. I have been accepted to 12 colleges, and I'm not 100% sure where I want to go yet, but I'm leaning more towards LSU, UConn, and UT. I try to put my all into everything that I do, whether it be school, work, my extracurriculars. I want to make myself proud and my family proud. Like everything I do is for my family, so I want to be able to make sure that they're okay and they're good. So I put on that extra work just so I know that I did the best for them and I did the best for me as well.
These honorees truly are made with pride in Duncanville.
Yeah.
Congratulations to all of our Made with Pride in Duncanville honorees. Oh, awesome. And at this time, I would like to invite Mr. Hicks. Please join me at the podium. So our Special Olympics basketball team earned a bronze medal after competing in a recent basketball tournament. And they won their first game by a landslide, 22-13. And then the second game, they gave their opponents a good fight. But they came up in the last minute, and they scored, and we came up with 23 points. They had 25, but we are always winners in Duncanville. So we are Panther proud of you and your team. And so we'd love to hear a few words from you about your team, your colleagues that support you, and how proud you are of them at this tournament.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So first off, I'd like to say a big thank you to the coaches as well, Ms. Barringer, Ms. Dixon, and also Ms. Simmons. They helped me out more than you guys could ever know. And also I'd like to thank the parents as well, the parents that are here. Very they've been very supportive throughout this process, and also the students. The students have shown a tremendous amount of resiliency this year. This year was actually a more team-driven effort. Last year we had a guy that did a lot, but this year we had to work as a team, and so they stepped up and they took on the challenge. And this team is actually a lot more competitive, a lot more driven, and a lot more, I guess, I would say hard-nosed than the team that we had last year. You know, they don't mind telling me what I may be doing wrong. Or what the other teammates may be doing wrong. So this year, you know, we've had to deal with, of course, you know, they weren't happy that they got the bronze medal. And so that was something that we had to talk about, that we had to discuss. But I can say that I am overjoyed when I get a chance to watch, when I get a chance to coach them and they go out and they give it their absolute best, because even though we lost by 2 points, they gave it their absolute best.
That's what matters. That's what matters.
If we can please have the basketball team and their coaches come up to the front so that we can have a picture taken. And Miss Ivory and Miss Fields, will you guys come down and join them for the picture, please?
Ace in charge.
Okay.
Everybody, I see if we can get you to look right here at me. And 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And last 1, 2, 3. And you're gonna take some right here. 3, 2, and 1. 3, 2, and 1. Right here at me. 3, 3, and last 1, 3. Right here. 3, 3, 2, and
Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. We will now go into closed session. We will now move to take action on items from closed session. Do I have a motion to approve the interim superintendent's recommendation to extend one-year term teacher contracts to the listed employees for the 2024-25 school year?
Yes. I make a motion that the board approves the interim superintendent recommendation to extend one-year term teacher contracts to the listed employees for the 2024-25 school year.
Oh, second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, Madam Vice President, I make a motion. The board approves the interim superintendent's recommendation to extend one-year term professional contracts to the listed employees for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Vice President, Dr. Ivory, I move that the board approve the interim superintendent's recommendation to extend one-year term administrator contracts to the listed employees for the 2024-25 school year.
I second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Vice President, I move that the board approve the interim superintendent's recommendation to extend one-year probationary teacher contracts to the listed employees for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the interim superintendent's recommendation to extend one-year non-certified professional contracts to the listed employees for the 2024-25 school year.
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Vice President, I make a motion that the board approves the interim superintendent's recommendation to take no action on the contract of the listed employees for 2024-2025 school year.
I second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. At this time, we'll have communications from citizens, and we'll have Dale Kaiser.
Good evening, Interim Superintendent Fields, Board Vice President Dr. Ivory, and trustees. My name is Dale Kaiser. I reside at 534 Frank Kiesler Boulevard in Duncanville, Texas. I am a taxpayer and voter in the district and also teach U.S. government at the high school. I've come here tonight to speak to you about a couple of issues that deal with compensation and the budget. First, however, I would like to thank you for naming Dr. Lamar Goree as your lone finalist to become our next superintendent. I have followed his career for the last several years, and many of my colleagues back home in Louisiana have lots of positive things to say about him and the work that he has done in Caddo Parish schools. Secondly, the administrative team, faculty, and staff at the high school, we need your help. We're woefully short of the number of security personnel needed to handle 4,700 plus students in multiple school entrances. Last week, we had 3 major fights at the high school, one of which was in the auditorium where we had 17 displaced classes due to EOC testing. 2 of the students involved were not students of DHS, but somehow they wound up in our auditorium. We've had 2 assistant principals assaulted by students so badly they required medical attention. Not one of our administrative team, faculty, or staff members should be subject to that. We also have several faculty members in the last few days who expressed the idea that they're going to leave Duncanville High School, some of our best teachers, because they don't feel safe. And so anything you guys could possibly do to help us and help our administrative team, because our administrative team cannot be everywhere all the time. And so we need that help. I know the district is facing a budget shortfall because of our flat or decreased state funding, but we are asking you to prioritize funding for more officers and security personnel. A last area of concern is our bus transportation. At least once every couple of weeks, the principals come on the announcement at about 2:45 or thereafter and state that we will have anywhere from 3 to 5 buses that won't be to the school until 5 o'clock. And all of our students who ride those buses now have to find alternative way home if they want to get home before 5 o'clock. I know as every school district in this area faces bus driver shortages, that we have our own bus driver shortage, but we need to do better. We've got to do better for our kids who depend upon, and our parents who depend upon bus transportation. Finally, I'd like to extend an invitation to each one of you as I teach U.S. government at the high school to come and talk to our seniors and tell them about the job and responsibilities that you have as a trustee and to hear and speak to them directly. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. We will now move to conduct a public hearing on the 2023 District Annual Texas Academic Performance Report.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, Mrs. Fields. It is my pleasure to present our annual Texas Academic Performance Report. Next slide. So our Texas Academic Performance Report, better known as TAPER, has data that's all centralized in one location. But I do want to tell you that the information tonight is not new data. It's all placed in one spot. So we have been discussing this in accountability overview and updates. Some of the information is in our strategic plan. Mr. Garrison has presented information in our first financial accountability rating, and the chief has given us some of our safety and security updates. But tonight I'm going to talk about it all in one plan. And so as we're talking about our TAPER in the 23-24 school year, I want to first tell us that this is our 22-23 data. So I know we're in April of 24, but our TAPER data is lag data. And then traditionally, when I come before you and talk about TAPER, I would present to you some type of A through F rating. But because of the lawsuit that is pending, I will not have that for you. We are waiting on the final how will accountability ratings be determined, but I will share with you raw scores and raw information at this time. So you may be asking, why are we looking at this right now in the spring of 2024? It helps us to project our future outcomes, helps us to identify our trends, and our data from 2022-23 is still used in our accountability data for this year. So our TAPER has 6 requirements. First, I have to give an overall overview. Then I will talk to you about campus performance objectives, how our students are doing in post-secondary readiness, our PEIMS financial standards report, a report of violent or criminal incidents, and then our accreditation status. So first, let's look at our STAR data. Again, I would love to give you campus by campus. I would love to give you a letter rating, but due to the lawsuit that's pending, I can give you a high-level overview. So looking at all grades, all subjects, that's STAR for grades 3 through 8, and then our EOC and how we compare from 2021, 22, and 23. As you can see, we are trending upwards, and the approaches grade level or above. So this is every student and every test that's administered. On the next slide, you will see how we compare to the state, the region. So the state is in red, the region is in blue, and Duncanville is in our royal blue color. So in 2021, we were at 62%. In 2023, we're at 67%. And again, when we talk about the state, it's all across where campuses and districts do not look at us. And so our region, 10, also, many districts look a lot different than us, but we are working to close that gap coming back from COVID. When we go to our STAR 3 through 8 at EOC, really looking at the subject areas, where can we focus? When you look at our growth in our subject areas, again in reading, from 2022 to 2023, we had a gain from 66 to 69%. In math, we had a gain from 60 to 64%. Science, small gain, but it's a gain from 68 to 69. And then we know we have a little bit of work to do in social studies because we had a decrease. And then when you compare our students, so our bilingual or EB, emergent bilingual students, are not in our overall accountability data. They're separate. But if you look at our bilingual ESL students, you can also see that they're following our trend from 2021, where they were at 50% approaches or above. And then in 2023, we've moved to 67% approaches and above. Again, this is our bilingual star 3 through 8. You will see that our data is trending upwards, again, in reading, math, some work to do in science, and mainly that has to do with them going from Spanish test in reading and then testing in English for math and testing in English for science. So we're still working to have that language transition for them. So I want to remind you, because it's hard, I just shared with you, we're trending upwards, we're trending upwards. You're going to see all the growth, but our accountability measures changed this year. So we will not be able to compare. These scores are not apples to apples. You see that our data moved. However, two things happened this past year. After the school year started, after we were preparing for instruction, one, we had a star redesign. So school started, we're ready to go. The state launched that we're doing cross-curricular passages. We have these new question types where students are having to open and respond, and then everyone's testing online. That's the first major change. Then the second change was just the accountability refresh. So in the middle of the year, the commissioner identified that our domain 1 will change. So our cut score that we would normally have has not been released yet. In addition, how we measure growth will also change. And so our normal comparison schools and comparison districts have moved. And so we're unable to calculate growth because they haven't released that measure to us yet. And then our school progress, relative performance, how do our campuses compare to like campuses? Well, because they haven't given us the cut score or the new measures that they will use, we don't have our comparison groups for campuses. And last but not least, domain 3 with the closing the gaps. In the past, if you had 25 students in an accountability group, that group's scores would be used. Under the new accountability system, you have 10. So many of our campuses would have a group that would not count for them. For example, they may have an Asian population and they would have 4 students, or they would have 14 students. That would not be a student group, but now it is. So there are so many moving targets, and I wish I could tell you all about them, but the state hasn't released them yet. So as you're looking at the trend going upwards, know that that data can be deceiving because we haven't received how we will be scored. I've said a lot, so before I move on, are there any questions about that data?
Continue.
Thank you. So our next section is just our campus performance objectives. Because we don't have any accountability measures yet, we have not been able to proceed forward with our campus improvement plan. So from the state, we're holding tight on those. And so we've embedded in our performance objectives. We measure progress quarterly, and then each CIP is posted on the website. As a reminder, I've shared this with you before, we are monitoring the work that's going on at campuses weekly, monthly, and making sure that we are collaborating, making sure that we're assessing, and making sure that our curriculum is aligned at the teacher level all the way up to the campus administrator level. In our college and career military readiness slide, if you will look, there's 2 areas here that I want to focus in on. First is student achievement. So how did our high school students perform in regards to being ready for college and career? If you'll notice, we had a great jump from 2020, where we had 41.3% that showed that they were college, career, or military readiness, where in 2022, we were at 79.8%. And then if you notice in our industry-based certifications, we went from 2.4% of our students earning a certification to over 50% of our students earning a certification. The next section is our PEIMS financial report. Mr. Garrison has shared this information with you. Here are all the different data points that's observed, and for our financial report, and our first financial rating was shared with you in November. The next to last section is different than what's in your board book. So the numbers will be a little different, but it is the reports of violent or criminal incidents. As you can see, students who used or possessed a firearm went down from 4 to 1. Students who used or possessed a prohibited weapon, could be a knife, went up from a 1 to a 2. And so you can see the changes here. We had an aggravated assault on a student, went down to a 4. Aggravated robbery, which happened off-site, out of district, but within a certain amount of feet from the school, was up for a 1, and then arson went down from a 4 to a 2. And our 2023-2024 accreditation status for Duncanville ISD is accredited. And we can access, or you can access our TAPER report in the front office. You can also access it online, and then there's the links to the financial website as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Trustee Savage Martin.
Can you go back to the page of the report of violent or criminal incidents?
Yes, ma'am.
Aggravated assault on a student, what caused it to go from 13 to 4?
So it was never 13. That was just a draft slide where I typed in a number. It's my,
Oh, just the number.
yes.
Got
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
How is this data collected? Does it go from teacher to administrator to you? How is this? When I look at that, I'm thinking maybe that's the first 9 weeks of school. What I hear and what's on YouTube and what the teacher just said, these numbers just don't look right to me.
So these would be what the state identifies as violent incidents. So if we have a fight, that's mutual combat, but the way it's reported is the teacher will write a referral, the referral goes into Skyward, the administrator will receive the referral, and then we pull the data from our Skyward system. So it's the teacher submits the referral, the administrator investigates and enters the information in, and then it goes into our Skyward system. These would all be verified by the police. So in addition to having it in Skyward, it would be that law enforcement would be involved.
Will you repeat that, Ms. Fields?
These are a required reporting of violent and criminal incidents, mutual combat, where students, as our teacher shared about, fighting. These are the things that are required for us to, we have all the other, incidents where students have fight, they're skipping, all the other things are also documented. But this is what the state requires us to submit through our PEEM system, because these are actual incidents that happen.
Well, so the other things that happened weren't actual incidents?
They are incidents. This is just a requirement that they require us to submit to them.
Wouldn't they want to know everything? I mean, I just don't get it.
As a part of the TAPER, yes, but we have much information on the number of fights, number of tardies, suspensions. We have all of that. This is just a requirement by the state of Texas.
Well, this is just a comment. I don't know why they would want that. I mean, what are they gonna use it to do?
To bring it back so they can inform the citizens and the board and the community.
I'll let it rest. Thank you.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we just did the communications, right? Are there any public comments on the TAPER report? We do not have any public comments. The hearing has ended. We will now move to the consent agenda.
Yes, I would like to move that we move items 9F, 9J, and 9K to the consent agenda.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussions? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Does somebody have 9A? Somebody have 9A? Do I have a motion to amend the consent agenda as, approve the consent agenda as stated?
So moved.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We now move on to the action agenda items A. Consider approving of Panthers Impact Summer College Tour during the dates of June 15th through June 30th. Our presenter is Dr. Nix.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Vice President, Dr. Ivory, members of the board, Interim Superintendent, Ms. Fields. Board, it's always a pleasure to stand before you for the opportunity to advocate for our students. This is no exception. We have the opportunity for several of our students to go on a college tour. This is something that has become somewhat of a routine thanks to Mr. Kane and his team. And board, I want to point out a discrepancy that is my fault in your board book. In the past, this has been housed under the Youth and Government title. Now it's what's called Panther Impact. In your executive summary, I refer to the Panther Impact in one place, but left it as Youth and Government in another. That is my fault. The difference is Youth and Government, of course, is something that we have at the schools as a club, organization, Youth and Government. Panther Impact is an after-school club that anyone is open to, and it is supported by CTE. So part of this trip will be funded and supported by CTE, and it just opens the door for more students to have the opportunity to participate. So please forgive me for that oversight, but I wanted to make sure I clarified that for you. Board, this particular tour is where students will experience in the summer the opportunity to visit top HBCUs, elite public and private and Ivy League universities, and just these students having an opportunity to experience something that they may not have an opportunity to experience if they didn't have this opportunity. You know, when speaking to Mr. Kane, he said, hey, I need to bring some students with me. I said, that may not be. He said, but I want to bring 2 students with me. And the reason why is he says, I want people to understand the dynamic impact that this has had on our students' lives. So sitting here today, board, in case you would like to hear from them, are 2 students. One is Crystal. Crystal is 4th in her class. She's a senior at Duncanville High School. Crystal went last year to visit these colleges, and Crystal said to me, had I not gone, had I not visited, had I not seen, I would not have even thought that this was possible. Crystal has been accepted to Brown University. We also have Esmeralda, who is a senior, who also is ranked high in her class. She has 3 letters, offers from 3 of the universities that she visited last year. And there are so many stories like this because of opportunities that you, the board, allow our students. So she's here as well. And so her biggest challenge is to decide, does she want to go to Tulane? Does she want to go to Wake Forest? Or does she want to go to Lehigh? So we're praying that she makes the right decision, right? But board, I just wanted to share that with you because the information you have in front of you, the number of chaperones, the number of students, the fundraisers, they would be going through World's Finest Chocolate. CTE will be supporting with the transportation and with the gas. Thank you for allowing me that personal privilege just to talk about the opportunities for our students. And I'm willing to answer any question that you may have. And Mr. Kane and the students are here to answer any perspective that you may need if you need it.
Any questions? Trustee Fahey?
I see that 14 of your travelers will be seniors for next year. Well, if you're a freshman and sophomore and you travel this year, do you get a chance to travel again? Or is it once you're done, or how do you work that?
I'm going to yield to Mr. Kane to answer that one. Yes.
I always say Kane is able.
We prepared for this
I'm
for every
telling you,
question, and there
telling
she goes.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for having me out today and, giving me the opportunity to put this in front of the board again. But yes, if they do go as a freshman and sophomore, we have like an application process, and they are able to go again their next year. There are actually 2 students that went as juniors that applied again and are going this year as seniors.
Do you have to turn any down? I mean, do many apply?
I'm going to look at all of you in the eye, because especially y'all too, because y'all tell me all the time, we're going to have to work next summer, right? And this summer, because I had 86 kids apply, and I'm only taking 20.
Oh,
We will help.
Right? So that bus that you mentioned last year, we're going to have to get that 50 passenger for next year. I did do a good job of, I don't know if you noticed, I know Dr. Ivory's mentioned last year, well, I need you to take some freshmen this year, right? So that's one thing we did, open it up for freshmen, and we are taking some freshmen this year. That way, it will motivate them. It's like, hey, I went to this school, now I want to chase that.
Yes.
So that's something that, we definitely, last year it was mainly, sophomores and juniors. This year we opened up, freshmen, sophomores and juniors.
Oh, great.
thank you.
Dr. Ivory.
And thank you for all you do.
Trustee Phillips?
Mr. Kane, Dr. Nix, thank you all so much for opening this up to not just YAG students, but to all students, because it does make a difference. And when we're in a district that's 84% economically disadvantaged, this is very, very, very important that everyone has the opportunity to participate in this. So thank you so much for this program and all that you put into it, because we know that it's probably like you're working for free sometimes, but you know what? We know why you do it. So
Yes.
thank you.
Definitely know my why. And the one thing that Dr. Nitz did not mention about Esmeralda and Crystal, right? Going back to what you just said, 86% of kids are economic disadvantage. All 3 of Esmeralda's offers are full rides. Crystal's going to an
Have those
Ivy,
young ladies stand
right?
up.
Yes.
Crystal is going, I don't know if you, Crystal is going to an Ivy League university, Brown University, for free. Actually, she's one of the first students I've ever seen. She got a full ride plus. They're giving her extra $2,000 to get home and back. So full ride plus.
Thank you.
So-
Esmeralda and Crystal, I'm going to ask you all to do us a favor. Would you all come back at some point and talk to our students and tell them what this program meant to you, and give them an idea of what they can expect and how you're doing in school, because you guys are going to be setting the tone for our students coming behind you. Okay, we need you to come back. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Are y'all first generation? I had a question. Are y'all first generation?
Wow.
Wow.
Are the numbers after that the ranking of the college? Is that-
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the number you see
Yeah,
is
yeah.
where they're ranked nationally.
I know that you're going to see an impact on adding the freshmen. I know we'll hear students come back and say, because I saw it my freshman year. So thank you. I mean, I guess we could just keep saying thank you. Thank you.
But that's something I did take to heart. Like, it really was one of those things that, and I'll be honest with you, I have a freshman next year, right? And she'll be at Collegiate Academy. So that's one of those things that I was like, okay, would it affect my own daughter?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I asked her, I'm like, sweetheart, like, if you were going on this college trip, would it matter to you? She's like, well, what do I got to go do and what I got to do to go next year? I'm like, okay, you got to fill out the application. Like, I don't pick favorites, right? But she's like, Yeah, just to put them, it's like what they would say. It's like to feel yourself there, right? It gave, we didn't visit Brown, right? But Crystal will tell you that going to those universities, she said, Mr. Kane, like, I have the courage to do it. I never thought I could do this. It's not something that, I even thought about, but I'm going to apply to this Ivy, right? I know it's very similar to this one that we, visited, right? You think I can get in? I'm like, shoot your shot.
Yes.
And sure enough, she got in. And guys, we could literally do this all night. I mean, I brought 2, but I could take the other 20 that went last year. Every single one of them has offers. And majority of them are full ride offers.
So I know Mr. Reed isn't here, but maybe he could videotape them and give us a little production and they can all kind of share, and it's something that we could have. I think that's very valuable.
I'm going to tell you what we're doing. Actually, next Tuesday, if you want to come, is we're having those 20, right? Some of them. And at our next Panther Impact meeting, which falls under CTE program, we're actually having, right, a panel of those seniors are going to talk to the underclassmen about the process,
Great.
right? About the senior year. So like we're on the same page.
Please
Like,
record
because
it.
That's my thing is they have to be able to share back. I'm like, yo, I wish I could take 100, but I'm going to make sure the 20 that do go, right, spread the wealth.
Yes. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to approve the Panthers Impact Summer College Tour as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? All in favor, raise your right hand. Yes, just one, just one. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board. Dr. Ivory, just want to comment.
Sure.
That we'll follow up on the filming of that to make sure that we can chronicle it appropriately.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will now move to action item B. Consider approval of the request to the TEA for a foreign exchange student waiver.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, Interim Superintendent, Mrs. Fields, and Board of Trustees. I am here to present the foreign exchange student waiver to you tonight. Board policy requires that the district admit foreign exchange students that are placed with host families that reside in our district. There is no limit to the number of students that a district must accept unless a waiver is granted by TEA for one of 3 reasons. Admitting foreign exchange students would impose a financial or staffing hardship on the district. Admission would diminish the district's ability to provide a high-quality instruction, or our domestic students would have to compete with foreign exchange students for resources. Duncanville ISD had 7 foreign exchange students enrolled over the course of the 23-24 school year. This differs from previous school years where we had about 2 to 3 students on average. Foreign exchange students are usually admitted on a J-1 visa, which traditionally expire after 1 school year. The district pays $250 to have each transcript evaluated by a vendor. Foreign exchange students are able to receive ESL services or language support services as required or as needed. And approved foreign exchange programs work with host families and the school districts to place the students. Without the waiver, the district will be required to accept an unlimited amount of foreign exchange students if host families live in the district. Duncanville High School currently has a vacancy rate of 14% for teacher positions. This does not include other vacancies that exist with support and paraprofessional staff on the campus. Furthermore, foreign exchange students are required to take the STAR ELC exam, and they do count in our accountability ratings. Evaluating a student's academic record or need for additional academic or language support cannot be considered when enrolling foreign exchange students. And host families and exchange programs must receive prior approval from the district before enrolling the student. Our district prioritizes an inclusive and high-quality education for all students and enrolls students that reside in the district from countries all around the world. including Thailand, Mexico, Brazil, and El Salvador, to name some of the more popular countries where we have a lot of students that live in the district, but they come from out of the country. But thoughtfully limiting the number of foreign exchange students, we can ensure resources and academic language support is being provided at a high quality level for districts that reside within our attendance zone. Here you can see some of the other surrounding districts that have submitted and received approved waivers from TEA to limit the number of foreign exchange students. Depending on the school size and location, such as urban districts, some school districts are more prone to have host families that will participate in programs and the requests for foreign exchange students. We request that the board approve us to submit a waiver to TEA to limit the number of foreign exchange students to 5. A district has to have extenuating circumstances to apply for this waiver, and the waiver would not be retroactive. It would only be moving forward, so it would not impact any students that are currently enrolled. And we are currently enrolling for the 24-25 school year, and so we've already started to receive requests for next year. And so if approved, we would limit it to 5 students, and the waiver would be good for the 24-25 school year and the 26-27 school year. Are there any questions?
Trustee Phillips?
Yes, ma'am.
For that report. How will you determine which students are accepted?
It's a first come, first served basis. So we have guidelines where we work with the agencies. They have to meet the criteria, have your immunizations, provide all the documentation, enrollment paperwork, et cetera. But I mean, if they follow the guidelines and turn in all of the necessary paperwork, it's a first come, first served basis.
How many applications have you received so far?
So far, we've had inquiry from one exchange agency that has reached out to us. And so we sent them the information. They said, hey, are you accepting foreign exchange students? And so we said yes and sent them our guidelines. And so we're waiting to see how many students that they will be trying to enroll for the school year. And it's different agencies that the government has approved. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Fahey?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a true exchange where we send one of our students?
Oh, no.
It's not that
No.
way. So host families don't swap children?
No, not necessarily, not unless it's something they voluntarily participate in, but no, they partner or recruit, families willing to, participate in the program, but no, it's not an even swap.
How do you solicit for host families?
I'm not exactly sure how the agencies go about it, but I have seen flyers before in the past, not necessarily in Duncanville, but just throughout my career, saying, would you like to host a foreign exchange student? Contact this information. And, I'm assuming that the families, look into it further and then they begin to work together from there. We do have one particular family that hosts students, almost annually.
Thank you.
Yes.
Trustee Vera Cruz?
I think you answered it when you were speaking to Trustee Phillips. How does the agency find us, or how are we looked at as a district for them to join us?
So it's really just about where the host family lives. So wherever they recruit host families, and if those host families,
district.
yes. And so we just happen to live in a district that has increased, with the participation for host families. And so if they, I don't know how they recruit per se. Like I said, I've seen flyers in the past in my educational career, but not necessarily recently in Duncanville. But if they find more host families to participate that live in our attendance zone, then there is no limit to the number of students that we would be required to accept because they reside here.
Right.
But you can limit it with a waiver. And so once we reach 5, we will be able to say, we've reached our limit by TA, but they could always seek to partner with a host family in a district, or some districts don't have any foreign exchange students.
Right.
So they could always seek to partner with.
I think it's an honor to host them here and have them here in our district. Thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions?
Madam Vice President, I'd like to move that we approve the request to submit a waiver to the Texas Education Agency to limit the number of foreign exchange students to a maximum of 5 students.
I second.
All in favor, any questions, comments, or discussions? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, trustees, and Ms. Fields. We are in the process of putting all the pieces together to start executing the key construction deliverables associated with the bond packages. This evening, we are asking for the board's approval on several items to support expediency in decision-making, potential cost savings, and to avoid project delays. Last month, you approved the resolution allowing Mrs. Fields to review and approve bond contracts and agreements associated with the architecture, engineering, surveying, and construction services. This evening, we are requesting that you authorize the superintendent to determine the project delivery and contract award method for facility construction projects. The board is authorized to delegate this authority per CV Legal, but must specify what is being allowed. Tonight, you would authorize the superintendent to determine the project delivery contract award method, such as construction manager at risk, construction manager agent, or design build. Construction manager at risk is the most common approach. Also, specifically, you are stating that if the superintendent determines a method other than competitive bidding is appropriate, then bid or proposal request will include the defined criteria, weighted value, and scoring methodology. Construction contracts above $50,000 would still come to the board for approval, and the superintendent would make all determinations in partnership with our bond counsel at Thompson & Horton and our bond managers at LAN. Therefore, the administration recommends that you authorize the superintendent to determine the project delivery and contract award method for facility construction projects following the presented requirements. Myself or a land representative will answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? May I have a motion?
Madam Vice President, I make a motion to move the authority of the superintendent or designee to determine the project delivery contract award method for facilities construction projects. I further move that when the superintendent or designee determines that a method other than competitive bidding is appropriate, the superintendent or designee shall be delegated authority to prepare a request for bids or proposals establishing 1, the criteria that will be used to evaluate the offerors, 2, the applicable weighted value for each criterion, and 3, a detailed methodology for scoring each criterion. I further move that the superintendent or designee be delegated authority to take appropriate related action to carry out the foregoing. You had the easy part.
Do I have any questions, comments, or discussions? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm still here.
You are.
Madam Vice President, trustees, and Ms. Fields, the second bond action we are requesting from the board this evening is the approval of the wage rate schedule for school construction trades. Adoption of the prevailing wage rate schedule is a requirement of the Texas Government Code. The district has 2 choices. They can utilize an existing area prevailing wage rate schedule survey that other local public entities use, or they can adopt the U.S. Department of Labor schedule as established by the Davis-Bacon Act. In consultation with our attorney and bond manager, it is recommended that the board adopt the prevailing wage rate schedule as most recently published by the U.S. Department of Labor. This will provide a fair and accurate wage rate and will automatically adjust based on the periodic updates by the Department of Labor. The board's action will apply to all construction projects until the board modifies this adoption through future board action. Myself or an LAN representative will answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? May I have a motion?
Madam Vice President, I move that the Board of Trustees adopt the prevailing wage rate schedule as most recently published by the U.S. Department of Labor prior to the date of advertising each construction project in the district, and further authorize the superintendent or designated to take appropriate related action.
Second. Do I have any questions, comments, or discussions? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you kindly.
You're welcome. I have one more.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, trustees, and Mrs. Fields for your patience this evening as we work through these bond items. I know it's a lot. This final action item is a resolution that establishes the rules and criteria for accepting electronic bids. Currently, our district does not engage in electronic bidding process. However, through our partnership with LAN, we will now be able to receive bids or proposals on various bond projects through electronic transmission. LAN uses the Project Mate system, which will allow vendors to submit electronically, thus saving on printing and delivery cost. We believe this will potentially increase our number of project bidders and potentially save on cost overall. Through this resolution, the district will also explore an electronic bidding system for projects outside the scope of the bond and consider moving towards this automated approach in the coming months. Our bond counsel with Thompson & Horton has reviewed the resolution provided in your board packet this evening. The resolution states, whereas Section 44.0313 of the Texas Education Code and the district's policy CH Local permits the district to receive bids or proposals through an electronic transmission if the district adopts rules to ensure the identification, security, and confidentiality of electronic bids or proposals, and to ensure that the electronic bids or proposals remain effectively unopened until the proper time. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Duncanville ISD Independent School District hereby establishes the following procedures to be followed when bids and proposals are submitted electronically. Bids or proposals shall be submitted via the district's or an authorized vendor's electronic procurement system during the open bid period. Bids or proposals sent via any other electronic means other than the approved electronic procurement system shall not be considered. Both the district and vendors are required to access the system through a unique user account and password. Individual user passwords shall be stored in a manner that cannot be accessed by any other user, and the district system administrator shall only have the ability to reset the password through a system-generated program based on a user request to reset a password. All data transmitted between the district and vendors shall be encrypted using standard security technology. The system shall limit inactivity by expiring a session based on the preset period of time. All actions within the system are subject to audit by the district or any district-approved auditor for actions taken by any internal or external user with prior approval. Bids or proposals sent in response to all formal solicitations shall be electronically sealed in an electronic lockbox and not accessible to any internal or external user other than the vendor initiating the bid or proposal. The solicitation response document includes at a minimum the date and time the bid or proposal was received by the system. The system shall not allow for any late bids or proposals after the closing date and time. The system shall only allow for bids to be electronically unsealed at the proper time for bid opening by authorized district staff. And the system shall retain electronic copies of the vendor's responses for the minimum period of the time required by the State of Texas Records Retention Schedule, or for an extended period of time if required by the entity. The entity will not be responsible for any delay of delivery or submission, including delays related to system programs, servers, or acts of nature. I hereby certify that the foregoing resolution was presented to the Board of Trustees of the Duncanville Independent School District during a meeting on April 15th, 2024. A quorum of the Board of Trustees being then present. It was duly moved and seconded and will then it be resolved. So therefore, the administration recommends that the board adopt the presented resolution establishing rules and criteria for accepting bids and proposals. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Trustee Fahey, I'm sorry, Trustee Savage Martin, I saw your hand first.
I move that the Board of Trustees adopt the presented resolution establishing rules and criteria for accepting bids or proposals, with a copy of the resolution to become attached and incorporated into the minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Do we have any questions, comments, or discussion?
Yes, ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
Does that also include that we will still be taking bids by mail as long as it's date, time, place, correct?
If we go to an electronic system, in order to be a part of the bid process, they would have to submit electronically.
What about little mom pop companies that don't have maybe the equipment that a big corporation might?
It's an online system, so most everyone would have access to that. If not, we would give availability to access it through a computer system here, through a computer here. But most companies now have a computer of some
I just don't
sort.
want to leave out anyone.
I understand completely.
Thank you.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Vice President.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
We're at H.
G.
G? We didn't mark off G? Thank you. Continue.
Okay, all right. Good evening, Vice President Ivory, Dr. Ivory, Mrs. Fields, Board of Trustees. To ensure safety and students of staff, the district will replace transite panels located on 5 campuses. The reason being is these panels contain asbestos. So the district released a request for proposal 23-24-006 for asbestos remediation. The request was released on February 19th, 2024. The transite panels are located at Alexander, Smith, Reed, Byrd, and Duncanville High School. The panels will be removed and replaced with steel-coated panels. A pre-bid meeting was held February 26, 2024, to go over the specs and the details of the panels, as well as a walkthrough of the campuses to view the panels. 8 vendors attended this meeting. The completed responses are received prior to the closing at 2 p.m. on March 19th, 2024. The district received 5 responses. Of the 5 responses we received, 2 vendors were disqualified for submitting incomplete proposals. The bid tab totals are on page 131 of the board book. The remaining 3 responses were evaluated and ranked based on cost of project, reputation with the district and industry, quality of work, ability to meet the district needs, past relationships with the district, HUB certification, long-term costs, qualifications, in-state or large workforce, and other relevant factors. Based on the ranking, FHR Abatement LLC's proposal was ranked highest. The project will be funded with the Safety and Facilities Enhancement Cycle 1 grant and is expected to take place between June 3rd and July 26th of 2024. ARC abatement will follow all safety protocols, and the work will be monitored by a certified safety specialist. Therefore, tonight we're recommending the board approve FH ARC abatement LLC for asbestos remediation at 5 campuses at a cost of $67,874. Please let me know if there's any questions. Mr. Joe Paterka, Director of Maintenance, or I can answer for you.
Do we have any questions? Trustee Fahey?
Yes, I was looking over the bid submission, and it asked for 3 references. Well, 2 of the 3 references are the same company.
So
4 years apart, but yet there were just really two companies. And
So in the packet, there were multiple opportunities for them to provide their references. That was one section. There's another item. I did not submit to you the entire packet. There's another section in the template that the district has where they can also list references. And then they also had opportunity to attach other items. And so those weren't the only references we received.
had they done schools, campuses?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? May I have a motion?
So moved. Second, sorry.
Any additional questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Jordan?
Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, Mrs. Fields, I have the pleasure of requesting permission for one Duncanville High School student. It is Grayson Peterman. He was in the superintendent's update last month in the board meeting to compete for national level awards at our Texas Association for Future Educators in Washington, D.C. He will compete for not only national level awards for his instructional design and lesson planning and delivery, he will also be able to participate in professional learning opportunities that will grow him in his teaching career. And so the cost for the trip for Grayson and then the 2 sponsors will be approximately $5,000. Again, Grayson is a male student, and so he will need to go with the sponsor's female. And so we will have an additional male chaperone to be there with him at all times. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Do we have any questions? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. I also have the next item as well. And so again, excited for our students are competing at the national level. We have 5 students and 2 sponsors who will attend the International DECA National Competition. And DECA for us is our Career and Technology Pathways national level to compete. So it's similar to UIL, state championship game, but this is for the career and technical side. And so we have 5 students who have made it to nationals. They will be able to not only compete, but they will also participate in different professional learning opportunities for them. The cost for the registration for the sponsor and the student, $7,500. And then the approximate travel, because the trip is so quick, we have $5,000, but it depends on if we can get it approved tonight and how fast we can book it. This will include the flights and the hotel for the students, the 5 students, and the sponsor. I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Madam Vice President, I move that the board approve the out-of-state travel, student travel for DECA as presented.
Second.
Do we have any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Vice President, Interim Superintendent Mrs. Fields, and Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure this evening to present to you our compensation plan for consideration for the 24-25 school year. Annually, the superintendent recommends to the Board of Trustees the compensation plan for all employees. And of course, the purpose of that plan is to recruit and retain quality staff. Based on information shared with you in the budget workshop, we are proposing that we approve our compensation plan much earlier than we typically do. Typically, we're bringing you the compensation plan in June along with the budget. And so a couple of reasons why we are wanting to move forward with proposing that you consider the compensation plan during April of this year is one, we can communicate that out to the public in a timely fashion so that employees are aware of what compensation will look like in Duncanville for the 24-25 school year, so that they are able to make informed decisions and others are able to join our district. Two, there are some areas that are very high need in Duncanville ISD. Two of those areas are, we have needs across the board, but two needs that we definitely have are fully certified bilingual teachers in our district, and then special education staff across the board, but specifically in our self-contained special education classrooms. And so you have a few documents for your consideration. The first is a new hire teacher salary schedule for the 2024-2025 school year. And it raises our beginning teacher salary for fully certified bilingual and special education self-contained staff to 0 years of experience, starting at $62,500 for the upcoming school year, $63,500 with a master's degree. And that is in addition to any signing bonus or stipend that we have for our bilingual teachers. That would be the same for our special education self-contained teachers as well. For the 2024-2025 school year, the new hire teacher salary schedule for all other teaching positions outside of those two would be the same as it is for this current school year, making our 0 year starting teacher salary being $58,500, $59,500 with a master's degree. And then the third document you have is a draft of the 2024-2025 compensation manual. That manual includes all positions and pay grades outside of the teacher salary schedule. And so it includes our administrative management pay schedule, our administrative professional pay schedule, our instructional support, our auxiliary positions, and then all of our clerical positions are listed there as well. So it's all positions outside of teaching positions in that. And it is the same as the 2023-2024 compensation plan. The only updates you may see in there are title changes if the name of a position has changed. Okay. And then the final document you have for consideration is all supplemental pay and stipends. So that is including of our substitute pay schedule, any stipends for extracurricular activities, and let's see, and extra duty pay is listed there as well. So I would be happy to answer any questions you all have at this time.
Any questions? May I have a motion?
Madam Vice President, I move that the board approve the 2024-2025 compensation plan as presented.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussions?
I
All in
wish it
favor?
could be more.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We now move to the information discussion agenda item, Board of Trustees Education Hours. As the board vice president, I am required to announce the name of each board member who has completed, exceeded, or is deficient in meeting the required continuing education CEC hours And I am proud to present that each board member has exceeded the required continuing education hours. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? We now move to information B, first reading local policy updates for CPC and EIC.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, trustees, and Mrs. Fields. In alignment with Strategic Priority Operational Excellence Goal 3, I am pleased to present to you this evening 2 local policy revisions. Our district follows a defined process for considering local policy updates in partnership with the Texas Association of School Boards. We ensure our local policies are in alignment with state law and our district priorities. Tonight, you have been provided 2 annotated local policies in your packet for your review. This is a first reading, and both of these policies will be brought back in May for your consideration. I will start with CPC Local, which has just a minor change. The district records manager will now be the chief operations officer instead of the director of purchasing and warehouse services, since the COO is the primary leader responsible for all district records. This is the only revision to CPC Local at this time. I will now turn it over to Pamela Brown to discuss the changes to local policy EIC Local.
Good evening again, Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, Mrs. Fields. In Duncanville, students have both a weighted and an unweighted GPA on their transcript. The weighted GPA is used to calculate class ranking and compares a student's academic record with others in the class, taking into account how difficult a course may be. The unweighted GPA calculates a student overall average grade out of 4.0 regardless of course difficulty. However, the current weighted GPA scale in Duncanville is on a 100-point scale, which is not commonly used by colleges and universities. Therefore, a committee has recommended updating the policy to a more standardized scale, among other changes which will benefit both the students and the colleges and universities. The committee consisted of representatives from all 3 high school campuses, members from the curriculum and instruction team, and the student services and campus support team. We met 4 times on February 8th, 14th, 21st, and 29th to develop the policy in consultation with TASB Policy Services. The policy was also reviewed by legal services and a Region 10 Skyward representative. The committee reviewed over 15 different local policies and weighted GPA systems from the surrounding area to ensure that all changes being made are in the best interest of our students. The goal was to create a weighted GPA system and policy that is more in alignment with surrounding districts and the criteria that colleges and universities use for scholarship purposes and admittance. This change, if approved, would begin with the current 8th graders or the class of 2028. On this table, you can see our current weighted GPA scale has 4 different categories of weights, which adds points to the student's final score in order to provide a weighted GPA. For example, if a student makes a 100 in an advanced course, the final weight for that class will be 112. This means that students may have GPAs with numbers that exceed 100, such as 108 or 102, which may not be compatible with scales that are commonly used by colleges and universities. Most of the new changes, other than clarified exclusions and breaking ties, will begin with the 8th graders or the class of 2028. The new scale will begin with the class of 2028 based on the recommendations from the legal counsel, TASB, and Skyward. This will help to protect the district from future grievances or legal concerns in regards to GPA and rank. We do not want to affect any points earned from grades of students that are currently enrolled in high school and have taken high school courses already. The proposed scale will have 3 tiers and will be on a weighted 6.0 system. All academic courses not considered to be honors or advanced will be considered regular or local courses. Some surrounding districts with 6.0 scales include Dallas ISD, Fort Worth ISD, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, and Waxahachie. Here is a sample of what the GPA looks like on a current transcript and what it would look like on a 4.0 on a future transcript. On the left side, you see the weighted GPA, and this student has a 103.08, which again is not commonly used by universities and colleges. And if approved, you see on the right-hand side, the weighted GPA is on a 6.0 scale, but we can see that this student would have a 5.0 on a 6.0. Students would still have an unweighted 4.0 GPA on this transcript. In addition to the weighted GPA scale you saw on the previous slide, there are other notable changes in the policy. This table highlights some of those changes, including breaking ties for valedictorian, salutatorian, new middle school courses that are eligible, IB courses for students that transfer in with those credits, the time of calculation, grading for dual credit purposes, and the exclusion of courses that have been retaken after a passing grade has already been earned. Before returning the presentation back over to Dr. Halashka, I would like to pause and answer any questions you may have about the proposed policy.
Well, I know this doesn't go into effect until our current 8th graders go to high school, but are we being proactive for class ranking for this year's seniors so that the class ranking isn't shifting as we get closer to graduation, as we've seen in previous years?
So we do have a committee that meets to monitor, but of course, as far as final determination of class rate, that can't be finalized until the grades come in. And so you will see some school districts will say at the end of the 5th 6 weeks or the 4th 6 weeks. Many of our top students are in early college. Well, early college doesn't give 6 weeks grades. So then at that point, you're omitting a good portion of that student schedule because they only provide semester grades. And so because we have students that are taking dual credit, a good portion of our students are taking dual credit courses, we can only really bank that class rank off of the scores that are earned for the fall semester of the senior year. And at that point, it's calculated for ceremonial purposes because once the grades from the college come in and then you have the finalized grades just from our 6 weeks, it can shift.
Okay, no, I get that. I'm just wondering, is the system like clear? Are the seniors aware of the only reason this would change is it's like a college course?
Or their final 6 weeks grades.
Okay.
So of course they are aware of how it's calculated. And so they know that the final grades, aren't in and that it's just for ceremonial purposes. So that is communicated that it's just for the graduation honors. But we hope that it doesn't change, but there is always that possibility.
Okay, and it would only be due to the dual credit courses coming in, nothing else?
Or no, it could also be to that final 6 weeks grade. So you could have a kid just in a regular art class, and one kid gets a 98 and another gets a 92, on that 6 weeks. And then that final semester grade, even for classes at Duncanville High School, that could shift. And so, like I said, some schools or in the past, it may have been calculated at the 5th 6 weeks, but at that point you were leaving out maybe up to half of a student's schedule out of the calculation.
Okay.
And so we just decided to use only the grades, ending with the fall semester of this. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Any additional questions? Okay. All right. We don't have any communications, right?
So, thank you, Ms. Brown. This concludes our overview of the local policy revisions for CPC and EIC local. Our next steps, of course, are listening to any recommendations or revisions from the board and adjusting the policies as requested before recommending for approval in May. Once approved, administration will then provide the changes to TASB for review and posting, and then create any necessary regulations to operationalize the board's governance policies. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions? No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Being that there is no further items to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.